welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's finally 2017 and all the Christmas decorations have gone. So I got this little director's lamp off made.com and I'm really happy with it, and I got a £10 off, yes. So I hope you like the new layout. So today is a really cool video. It's the first of its kind and hopefully there will be many more. So the lawofattraction.com said, would you like to interview Bob Doyle? And I certainly couldn't have said no to such a law of attraction legend. When this interview was set up, I was kind of under the illusion that I wouldn't be on camera. I mean, I don't know why. I think because I'm used to being the interviewee and kind of being the interviewer was a completely different setup for me. And I kind of got into my head that I wouldn't be on camera. So when I joined the broadcast, I was like, oh, I'm on camera, and my office, which I'm in now, was certainly not as tidy. Christmas had happened to it, and I hadn't done my hair, and yeah, there's an endless list of everything I didn't do. So excuse my unprofessionalism, because Bob just shone through and obviously looked incredibly professional, and there's me with my messy office, but keeping it real, guys, that's what I do best. Anyway, let's get on with it. Like, I'll stop talking now, and this is my interview with Bob Doyle, who is in The Secret. He is a law of attraction expert who has been doing this for so many years and has helped so many people globally, you know, unblock themselves and unleash their potential as such. So also what I would like to say is I have downloaded Bob's free ebook and I'm due to do his free webinar as well, and it's so good and it's all free. That's the best part about all of this. It's all free. So I will pop links down below in the description box to the free ebook which I mentioned and the free webinar as well, which Bob mentions. And yeah, if you'd like to check them out, then that's where they will be. So I hope you enjoy this, and here it is. So thank you so much, Bob, for joining me today. It's an absolute honor to be able to meet you and interview you and find out all your incredible knowledge throughout the 12 years of doing Law of Attraction. So thank you so much for joining me. So please tell us, or how did you actually start the Law of Attraction?
Well, make no mistake, I didn't start the law of attraction. It was started already. No, so I know what you mean. How did it start with me? So I try to make this story so short, and I always fail, but I'm going to really try. But basically, I didn't know I was looking for the law of attraction. I was looking for a career that satisfied me. That was really my driver. It's like, how do I spend the bulk of my day? I want to enjoy my life. I wasn't enjoying my jobs. And so, you know, why can't I find happiness? Because I always thought I wanted to go into radio. So my whole life as a kid and everything was all about getting myself ready for radio. And then I started in radio and it was fun for about 7 years. And then it wasn't what I thought it was. So I was very disillusioned. Like, oh my God, my whole lifelong dream, I'm not enjoying this. So now what? So I jumped around from sort of career to career, different endeavors in computers and even some network marketing and all kinds of crazy stuff. And all the while I was trying to start my own businesses too, with audio production, the things I was interested in. And I've been a web design company for a while. And nothing was really working, even though on paper it seemed like it should. In fact, you know, I had done so much studying on marketing and putting together different things for my various endeavors. I thought, well, I should totally be successful right now. What's happening? And so it was from that frustration of it seeming on paper that it should work, but it not working, wondering what's going on at a deeper level here. Why am I not finding success? Why am I struggling so much with this? And that's what got me looking down paths of, like, I don't know, the aisles of new age bookstores and metaphysical ideas and things that I didn't really I had an interest in, but I didn't really spend a lot of time studying. But I thought, well, if the answers aren't here in my logic and my real world experience, then maybe there's something that I'm not seeing. And that led me down the whole path of the whole concept that we could create our own reality and visualization and more deeply into meditation than I'd ever been before. And so trying to get this even down shorter, I was eventually led to through a series of coincidences and following my intuition, led to this material. Basically, it was some science behind this whole idea of what the law of attraction actually, it didn't use those terms, but the science behind our thoughts, the physics of our thoughts, and what our belief systems, what impact that actually has on the world. And that is what turned on the lights for me. It was like, I realized that even though I was saying I want the success and I had an idea of what I definitely wanted, I had a lot of deep beliefs around money and success that were anti that. We're literally pushing it away. And once I understood how, on a scientific, energetic level, my inner stuff was pushing away my success, now I had something to work with, and I could start working on these energy systems that are our belief systems. And through that process, and really I could go on and on about this, is what, then I started to get results with this thing called the law of attraction. But the law of attraction is really a much bigger thing than most people talk about, and we definitely should talk about that in this conversation. But that's what basically led me to it. Own dissatisfaction in my own life, looking for answers, trying to figure out what was going wrong, learning what was going wrong, making the adjustment, and having success. That's basically the arc of my story.
Brilliant. Well, I think so many of us, and especially myself, can relate to that, just finding fulfillment and wanting more from life. But was there a day you just woke up and was like, no more? Was there a light bulb moment? Was there just a moment where you felt, this is it, something better's coming?
Yeah, well, actually, so it started earlier in that year, in 2002, when I quit I had a corporate job, and it was just under six figures. It was a good paying job, but I still was in financial problems. So I was really clear that something wasn't working, but I was miserable there. And I just thought, well, maybe if I just jump off the cliff, I'll grow the wings on the way down, right? And I'll figure out whatever's going wrong with these business endeavors that I'm trying and failing on, because I won't have any other choice. Like, I had to just give myself that level of accountability. So, and when I took that jump, I was falling for a very long time, and the financial situation was going really, really badly. And that's when it was getting at its lowest. That's when I really realized I have to stop trying to figure this out with my own head. And that's when I first started opening myself up to allowing answers coming from a higher power. I didn't really even know what that meant, right? But I had certainly heard, I was familiar with the concepts that we live in a universe that is infinitely intelligent, that we are a product of and a part of, right? So these answers I'm connected to them. So instead of me trying to keep all the answers in here, like they must come from this little section of the universe, that allowing them to come in from everywhere. And then that's kind of the light bulb moment was, all right, I, Bob Doyle, and my ego have got to stop trying so hard to make this happen and instead allow it to happen. And that's when that was the big shift.
Amazing. Well, you've definitely helped so many people over the years realize that and awaken themselves. But for people who are maybe starting out, how do you ask the universe for signs? What are the kind of key signs you get from the universe, which means that you're on the right path?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a big conversation around finding the signs. And I think that in some ways that can be a disservice, because now people are just looking for signs and they're interpreting things and all of this. And we get very mental about this whole law of attraction thing. And that's what's kind of happened when people were first introduced to it after The Secret. They learned these little 1, 2, 3 techniques that somebody had regurgitated, and it wasn't working. And then they started, the whole concept of looking for signs. It's just so mental. It's like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? What should I look for? It doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. It should be an effortless flow. See, I was getting tense just talking about it that way. I need to breathe and relax, because the whole thing is the universe creates effortlessly. We're the ones who create all the effort and make it difficult and have to analyze, because our ego wants a lot. I need to know, how is this going to work? But we may or may not ever know how it's going to work, because that's something that's happening on a grand, a different level of scale. All our job is to allow it to work. We have a vision. We know this is what we want our lives to be. This is how we want to feel. This is how we want it to be surrounded with. And then we just, looking for the signs or whatever, is really just following our intuition. What ideas come to us? What chance coincidences occur that we want to write off as a coincidence? When I first started this, instead of when I was starting to look for signs, I wanted to look for something that was different than my normal thought process, different than my normal circumstances, because I was giving up trying to figure it out in my head and saying, okay, universe, bring it, right? I just decided that, how am I going to know what to look for? And I just thought, well, I'm doing something fundamentally different in terms of trying to attract my experience of reality. So I'm going to look for things to show up fundamentally different. And that's what happened. In my case, it was a series of conversations around angels, which I'm not even really an angel person, but it was an unusual thing to start showing up in my field. And I just followed that. And that's really what led me to eventually the information that I was talking about that turned on all the lights for me. So following my intuition was a key part of that. And so it wasn't like I was what the angels could have been thought of as signs to follow. So I guess I did that, but it wasn't like I was on the lookout. They just showed up, and I just said, all right, rather than try and analyze it and go, angels, I'm not following angels. That has nothing to do with my career, right? Because that's what most of us do. We look at what shows up and we go, does this make sense to my little brain? No, it doesn't. I'm going to have to pass on this one. And we just say, no, thank you, universe. That's what most of us do all the time.
Definitely, and that makes so much sense saying that, and that actually leads me on to sort of blockages. So a lot of, well, including myself and my viewers, how we all speak about blockages, timings, and even how often do we visualize. I find that if I visualize quite frequently, then I kind of obsess over it and then it doesn't happen. But if I just visualize once and kind of almost forget about it, as I call it suddenly materializes. What's your advice for our viewers on that, of how to break through the blockages?
Yes. So great point. And it's when I get a question I get all the time, how often should I visualize? Well, you nailed it, because if it's totally up to the individual. So the thing is, there's no right answer, but you as an individual will know. Like you said, if I feel like I have to do it every day, then I'm obsessing over it. And what that creates is attachment, which is really a big, huge resistance. It's like, you're telling the universe, I must have this, or something bad's going to happen, or whatever. There's like I have to have it, or bleh. So it's like, I have to have this positive or negative will occur. That's basically the communication you're sending to the universe. So you're permeating this vibration, this communication with negative, right? So that attachment. So, and then when you said, I had the thought, it was a nice, powerful feeling. I got what it would, and then I just let it go. And then you just allow the universe to bring it. That is the way to do it. Now, let me clarify that. Some people can visualize every day and it feels wonderful. They love it. They don't have some feeling of, where is it? Where is it? I have to keep visualizing. They just want to. It's just enjoyable for them. And for those people, I would say, keep doing it, right? If it really brings you into the vibration of, I have this now, and you're not sitting there checking in with yourself going, well, I've been doing this for 2 weeks. Where the hell is it? That if that's enjoyable, then do it that way. But really, that whole trust, that it comes from trust, that knowing that the universe, how it works, that it works. And that's the really big, key, fundamental thing for people getting started in this, is because it just sounds too good to be true. It sounds like some sort of magic technique that they have to get right or wrong, or all of this other stuff. It's like this real, it's this, again, it becomes this mental process, and it isn't that. It's our natural state. We're designed to have desires and passions and interests. We've been built with an imagination where we can create images and conjure emotions. These are all the things that shift us into vibrational alignment with those things that we want. So if our vibration, if you will, wasn't cluttered with all these limiting beliefs about why it couldn't happen, or that it's too big, or I don't know how, and all of that, things would just literally just rush into us. But we're pushing them away constantly with all of this logic and reasoning, because we don't understand how it works. So that's why most of my education, when I'm teaching the law of attraction, begins with the piece that helped me, which is the science piece, so that people can start looking at this and going, this is a real thing, and now I will learn how it works, instead of, this seems weird, but let's see what they've got to say about it, which is a completely different vibration. You're allowing in a whole different experience, or not allowing it when you look at it that way. Well, I'll try this thing that I doubt will work. Well, you're sending a very clear signal that you don't think it's going to work. And therefore, that's what you'll be in alignment with. And you'll probably be in alignment with no result, inconsistent results, or opposite results of what you want.
Definitely, 100% agree with that. And that nicely leads me into the whole believing situation. So many people comment on my YouTube channel, how do you just believe? And, I've tried to cover it, but of course I'm just one person, and, you've been doing this a heck of a lot longer than I have. So what advice would you give to people when they say, how do I just believe? Like, where does it come from?
So I'm not a big fan of the word believe. So yes, let's complicate things right now. So I'm not belief. There's a difference between believing in something, and knowing it. And when you believe something, that really is, if you're really honest and you really look at the words and how they feel, if you believe something, it's not the same as knowing. Belief is like, I want to know this, or this sounds really good, or this philosophy feels good, or I want this to be true. right? That's what a lot of people about a lot of their beliefs. It really means they want to know it to be true. But right now they believe. It's like the closest thing to knowing, but that's not close enough for the universe. The universe is responding to what's really going on. Do you know something's going to happen? Or do you just believe it's going to happen? And it's a very different thing. So that's why I'm saying, again, your viewers, they want to know this is real. You can't tell somebody to just change your belief. That's, it's not, that isn't going to work. A belief requires evidence. A belief, or now in some cases, the belief that we've formed, the evidence comes in the form of the authority through which it came. My parents told me that, I believe it. The media told me that, so I believe it. My teacher told me that, so I believe it, right? So that's enough evidence because of where it came from. But for a lot of things, it's not, people aren't going to hear about the law of attraction for the first time, most people, and just believe it because if they believe it, it'll work. That's not, well, then sure, yes, I believe it. That's nonsense. That's how most people do a lot of their stuff. Oh, well, I want the result that you say I'll get if I believe what you're saying, so I'll believe that. That's not belief. That's not knowing. That's like, yes, I want that reward, so I will go with this. I believe this. It's vibrationally, it's not the same. So if you want consistent results with the law of attraction, you have to know it's a real thing. And that's why, again, all of my teaching begins with it's a real thing. And you must know this before you proceed with any of the techniques or any of this other stuff if you want to get results, because otherwise the whole thing is going to be diluted with this energy of, I'm not sure this is going to work, which is going to bring inconsistent results at the very best.
Definitely. And while we're speaking about your teaching, if any of my viewers want to find out more about your incredible work, what would you suggest to start off with? I mean, you've written an incredible book called Wealth Beyond Reason, and would you suggest starting off with that, or what's your advice?
Well, really, I have an ongoing masterclass that's free. And the whole purpose of that masterclass is to either introduce people to this whole concept from a more grounded, logical, scientific place, or adjust the expectations or the thinking of the people who have followed the whole law of attraction idea. They like it. They've tried all the things and they're still not getting results. And so the masterclass is really about, here's why you're probably not getting results if you're not, and here's what it is and here's what it really isn't. And I think that for a lot of people is going to be enough for them to say, oh, okay, I get it. I see how this can work. Because I really try to paint, when I'm talking about the law of attraction, as much as possible, I also try to say, so here's why it's happening energetically, but also just from a logical point of view, this is how things will work. So we always talk about in the law of attraction, you need to take action. It is not this passive thing like where you just visualize and then, ding, things just appear out of thin air. You have to take action in all of that. And so if you're not willing to take the action, you're not going to get the results. And so but it's logical that if you want something, you take action towards getting it. So even a person who doesn't believe in the law of attraction or need to know about any of it can understand that if you take action towards something, you're more likely to get it. The law of attraction explains the science of exactly why and how to stay in action and what to do when you get stopped. And why you're getting stopped, what the belief systems are, and the impact. So you get an inside look at the thought processes and behaviors of ourselves that we take for granted and sometimes just say, well, this is just how I am. When you actually have the choice at any time to decide who you're going to be. Your past beliefs, your past knowing, your past behaviors, all of that does not have to indicate what your future is. We can change it at any time. We can decide this is no longer acceptable. I am no longer going to be this way. I'm no longer going to play small. And we can, in a moment, change that about ourselves, except that it's hard because our ego is going, no, you can't, you aren't, you'll never, right? But if you have an education in front of you, if you understand what's going on there, if you have guidance, if you have a community, if you have support, you can navigate through all of that stuff that seems insurmountable, that stuff that seems true and that's going to stop you. It's not. And it doesn't have to, but if you have the information, if you have the support, you can move through that and really start to see some results. And so that's what the masterclass is about.
Definitely. It's great that it's also free for people to, look at and get used to. So I will pop that in the description box below for anybody who wants to have a look at Bob's free masterclass. I will put that in there for you. And I think we should talk about energy as well. I don't think I've covered energy. So I guess from my point of view, I'm quite spiritual with my energy, where I think you're quite logical with your energy and very, you talk about the science side of things, and I find that really fascinating. So from your point of view, how do you raise your energy? What do you find works?
Well, so let me clarify that I don't really draw a huge distinction between speaking in terms of science and spirituality, because it's all energy. So,
Yeah.
And science is just a way we're using to attempt to explain what the heck's going on around here. But it's all energy. Now, in terms of raising your vibration and all of that stuff, I mean, it really is, in terms of this law of attraction conversation and trying to keep it as simple as possible, it really means about finding things that make you feel good. End of story, right? I mean, we go through our day and we find reasons to be negative, things to worry about, things to fear, things to feel anxious about, and all of that. But we need to be fine, and it happens so easily, and it's so on autopilot. Because we're trained to be problem solvers these days instead of vision creators. And what we really need to do is start shifting some of our time and energy toward doing the things that really bring us enjoyment, whether that's something creative that you do, like playing a musical instrument or doing art, or whatever, or some physical activity, or playing with puppies, or whatever, things that make you reconnect with who you really are, what you're passionate about, what you feel like you're here on earth to do, and do more of those things. If you're not doing what you're here to do, you feel it every single day. You feel it in the drudgery of going to the job you don't like, or the stress and anxiety around your current situation, because you're not expressing who you really are. And for some people, they've been doing that for years, decades, right? And so their energy is just a fraction in terms of being powerful and attractive to what they really want, what it could be, because it's just layered with years and years of I'm not being who I am. And so that's what seems to happen to people around in their 30s. It happened to me. It's like, I studied this, I wanted to do this. And then after a certain amount of time, when you're not being who you are, doing what you want to do, you feel drained energetically. You're not lit up. You're not passionate. You're not happy, right? Because you're way, 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 way off path. Being on path feels really good. Being off path feels really bad, right? And it's a very low energy place to be. It's very draining, and it's just like, oh, do I have to do another day? Whereas when you're in alignment with who you are and doing what you love to do, you're just like, I could keep doing this all day, right? It's infinite energy. We all know that, right? And so it should just tell you that the flow of energy increases through you, just huge, when you're doing things you enjoy doing. And when you do things you enjoy doing, you're probably the most effective at them, contributing the most potential value to the planet at large. If you play a big game with your value and who you are, you can attract a lot of abundance. If you hide it away and say, nobody's interested in this, well, then you're going to have to go work somewhere you don't want to work, because you're not willing to share your gifts. So share your gifts. That's the moral of the story. And the law of attraction will, in a large way, work on autopilot. I mean, again, we're not built with this necessity to understand the science of the law of attraction. We're not. We're understanding the law of attraction is here now to help us unwind this energetic mess we've made of our lives and our belief systems and all of that, so that then we can be more in alignment with who we're really here to be.
Definitely. Totally agree with that. And what's your sort of daily practice? What do you do every day to just align yourself? Do you do a little gratitude practice in the morning? What do you do every day?
Well, I don't necessarily have set times for any of this stuff. That works for some people, and it doesn't really work for me. But I certainly find time to meditate every day, just because if we don't slow this brain thing down, we'll exhaust ourselves. A tired brain is just like a tired body. You have to give it recovery time. You have to give it silence time. And that's not just sleeping, because our dreams are active and crazed. We really need to be able to say, and just give our mind a rest so that we're working creatively. So that's something I try to do at least once a day, and sometimes several times a day. And really just making sure that at some point in my day, I have scheduled stuff I love to do. And for the most part, that's what I want to do all day. Every now and then we got those things that we're not, but we go through that. We try not to let that affect our overall energy and go, well, we got this thing. We're just going to do this. Again, we have the choice about how we feel about the thing, whether it's oh, this is a pain in the ass, or I'll just do it. That's a choice. That's not a real thing. So I try to check myself on that. If I'm feeling like I don't want to do this thing, it's like, how can I reframe this so that I can feel better? It's really about, if there's any practice, it's about noticing when I'm not feeling good and going, well, what is this about? And how can I change this right now? Can I pick up the ukulele and play for about 30 minutes and that'll help? Play with the dog, that'll help, whatever. Just break the state, break whatever path, because sometimes we just unconsciously go down these roads. And if we don't check ourselves, we go, oh, life's terrible. I'm having a terrible day, whatever we tell ourselves. And we fall into those old patterns that aren't serving us. So it's about being diligent. It's about being honest. And on top of what's going on in your head, not forever and ever, but until you rewire yourself so that you're not going automatically down the road that wasn't serving you.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And something I always love to ask people, because I find it really interesting, if you could tell your 16-year-old self anything, what would it be?
I'd forgotten that you were going to ask me that. And I thought, because, man, my 16-year-old self was a mess. I think if I was going to tell my 16-year-old self, the first thing I want to say is it gets better. That's the eternal. It's really, it's not always going to be like this. But yeah, you know what? If I could tell any kid anything, it's like you don't have to go down any particular path. You can choose. Again, now when I was 16, it was all about being in radio and stuff. And so my trajectory seemed going pretty good. I felt pretty good. I would say, don't take that job at Chuck E. Cheese. I would tell my 16-year-old that. That was a waste of my time. But yeah, no, it's, I think every teenager, every child needs to be empowered with this idea. It needs to know that we do in fact create our experience of reality. But see, at 16, you try and tell a 16-year-old that with their belief systems and what they know now, and they're going to look at you like you're crazy. It's something that you have to, if it's going to be easy, you need to instill that in the 16-month-old, right? And do it by example. You lead a life that you love using these principles, and your child will automatically follow. You can't, you can't be doing one thing and saying, here's how it works, and you're not doing that and expect for the child to do it. So, and I would also tell my 16-year-old to get a haircut.
I absolutely love those answers, and you're so right. I think in our day and age, young people do need to be inspired. They need purpose, because when I left school, I didn't have any clue what I wanted to do or any sense of direction. And I think if I'd have found this much younger, I think I probably would have succeeded a lot younger. And I think we all would have, accomplished so many greater things. So hopefully, we can all get this message out to, younger generations and inspire them that anything is possible and that we can just create anything in our lives. And also, finally, is there anything else you want to add? Any advice you'd like to give our viewers, or anything you feel you could add to this?
So my general overall, whenever I'm asked this at the end of an interview, I really want to just express, and this sounds so basic, but I just want to shake everybody and go, this is real. What we're talking about is real. This is real. So don't base your opinion on it on what you've heard or what you've tried. If you've been trying the law of attraction, but you've been using misinformation, well, yes, it's not going to work. So put it aside, say, okay, I didn't do it. I was following wrong information. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. This guy is saying it's real. If it is, and I can really have the life I want, what would that be like? If he's wrong, I spend a few minutes and I look at his stuff and I listen to his masterclass or whatever and go, no, this isn't resonating. And I move on and I go right back to doing things how I did. No harm done. If he's right and I can have a breakthrough, and this actually is scientifically grounded, and I can actually create a vision and see that happen, well, that's a pretty freaking good investment of my time. So I'm just inviting people to give it an opportunity to work in their lives with the right information. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I definitely agree with that, and I'm definitely going to be looking at your workshop, because even just speaking to you for the 20 minutes I have been, I've learned so much. So I would definitely be checking that out, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers will have a look at it as well. But I just want to say a massive thank you for joining me today. It's an absolute pleasure to speak with you and learn such valuable information, which, you know, like you say, isn't out there as such. You know, you've really got to look for it, and like you say, so many of us try all these different techniques, and some work, some don't, and it's just about finding what does work and actually, you know, having the scientific evidence, like you say, like the logic, not just, like you say, the belief system, actually knowing. And I think that's something I'm definitely going to work on myself, and I think it will help a lot of people. So thank you so much.
It was totally my pleasure. Love talking about this stuff anytime.
So thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate all your views and likes. I hope Bob's interview has helped you, because I know it certainly helped me realise a lot of the things that I was actually doing wrong. So don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you found it helpful. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, because I would love to see you all again soon. And don't forget to join me next Friday for my next video. Lots of love.